America once came closer to choosing the wrong president than most people realize. Not through a coup, not through fraud, but through a perfectly legal process that almost broke the system itself. In the election of 1800, the United States didn't just face a political decision. It faced an identity crisis. At the center of it were two men from the same party, trusted by the same voters, running under rules that had never been tested this far before. One was calm, intellectual, and cautious. The other was brilliant, ambitious, and dangerously unpredictable. One of them was supposed to become president. The other was supposed to be second. Instead, they tied. Under the Constitution at the time, electors didn't vote separately for president and vice president. Each elector cast two votes. Whoever came first became president. Whoever came second became vice president. That system worked until it didn't. When the votes were counted, Thomas Jefferson and Aaron Burr received exactly the same number of electoral votes. The country froze. There was no rule for what to do next. According to the Constitution, the decision now moved to the House of Representatives, but not the modern House we know today. Each state delegation got one vote, regardless of population. That meant a handful of men could decide the future of the entire nation. And the danger wasn't just political. Aaron Burr was not supposed to win. Even members of his own party didn't trust him. He was known for his ambition, his secrecy, and his willingness to bend principles for power. Some feared that if Burr became president, the young republic might not survive its first real test. Yet legally, Burr had every right to the office. What followed was chaos. For days, the House voted, and voted again, and again. Ballot after ballot ended in deadlock. States split evenly. Delegations refused to move. Tempers rose. Rumors spread that militias were preparing to mobilize. There were whispers that the army might be called in if the government collapsed. This wasn't politics as usual. This was the possibility of civil conflict, barely 2 decades after independence. If you're finding this story gripping, subscribe now, because this is American history exactly as it happened. Unstable, human, and dangerously close to failure. Behind the scenes, pressure mounted on one man, Alexander Hamilton. Hamilton hated Jefferson politically. They disagreed on almost everything. But Hamilton feared Burr far more. To him, Burr was not just wrong, he was dangerous. So Hamilton did something shocking. He urged his political enemies to vote for Jefferson, not because he liked him, but because he believed Jefferson could be controlled by the Constitution. Burr, he believed, could not. Finally, after 36 ballots, the deadlock broke. One representative changed his vote. One state shifted. And by the narrowest margin imaginable, Jefferson became president. America exhaled. But the story doesn't end there, because Aaron Burr didn't forget. He believed the presidency had been stolen from him. He believed Hamilton had destroyed his future, and that resentment would eventually lead to one of the most infamous moments in American history. Years later, Burr would challenge Hamilton to a duel. Hamilton would die, and the nation would realize just how close it came to choosing a president whose ambition might have shattered the republic. What's chilling is not that the system failed. It's that the system worked, barely. This single election exposed a flaw, so dangerous that the Constitution had to be amended. The 12th Amendment was passed to prevent this from ever happening again, separating votes for president and vice president. America didn't fix the system because it was strong. It fixed it because it almost broke. And this wasn't the last time. Decades later, in 1876, the presidency would once again hang by a thread. Samuel J. Tilden won the popular vote. Rutherford B. Hayes did not. But disputed electoral votes threw the country into another crisis. Backroom deals decided the outcome. Federal troops were withdrawn from the South. Reconstruction quietly ended. And the nation moved forward, but not without consequences that still echo today. Again, America almost chose differently. Again, the decision reshaped history. This pattern repeats because democracy is not clean. It is fragile. It depends on rules written by humans, enforced by humans, and interpreted by humans, all with their own fears and ambitions. And sometimes history turns on a single vote. If you want more real American history stories like this, not simplified, not sanitized, subscribe now. These moments explain why the system looks the way it does today. What's most unsettling isn't how close Burr came to power. It's how easily the outcome could have gone. The other way without breaking any laws. No fraud, no conspiracy, just a system learning its limits in real time. America survived that test, but it didn't pass it easily. And that raises an uncomfortable question. If one vote nearly changed the presidency in 1800, how many times has history balanced on that edge since? That question is why these stories matter. Because the past doesn't just explain where we've been, it warns us how close we've come, and how close we might come again. If this story made you rethink American history, subscribe. The next one might make you rethink the present.